Washington, D.C. to take back the White House?
Forget the scream. Listen to what former DNC chair Howard Dean just said that's being heard even louder.
Somebody has to tell the middle class that either your taxes are going to go up or your programs are going to get cut, or else we're going to go into financial oblivion. And nobody really wants to tell them that.
That's a Democrat telling the middle class their taxes are going up if things remain status quo, to Gretchen Hamel, who always knew it wasn't just the rich. Well, he called it like it was, right?
Oh, he called it like it was. I mean, for once, we all have to agree that Howard Dean had a legitimate point here. And instead of him screaming, it should have all Americans screaming, because we're going to be feeling, all of us, the ramification of Washington just stalling and putting off dealing with this crisis that we have.
What he's saying effectively is we kind of have the choice. You know, if you want government to grow on a bed and you want it to do everything and everyone, you're going to have to pay, and dearly for it, and you're going to have to pay through a lot higher taxes than those just imposed on the rich. You'd have to go down the sort of the food chain here to the middle class and beyond. Now, that's simple math, that he's recognizing that simple math, but it still either seems to be officially denied by the powers that be in the Democratic Party from the president on down. What do you make of that?
Well, it's basically playing chicken here. The White House is playing chicken. They're just insisting that this is a problem that's just all taxes. Well, we didn't get to $16 trillion in debt by just having a tax problem. This is at its core a spending problem, and it's spending way above our means. And that's what Washington has continued to do for the past few years. They haven't recognized what the real problem is. And you saw that with the fiscal cliff deal. Look, they had a deal that they put in place that had no spending cuts whatsoever. And here we finally have a bipartisan deal, sequester, that actually was the idea of the president, with the idea of the White House. It actually passed with bipartisan support, and now they're rejecting it a year and a half later.
What I'm wondering is, you know, if you look at where we're going and we're looking at all the spending, we can't keep this up. We just can't keep it up. And even if you were to take all the rich folks' money, all of it, it wouldn't be enough to sustain this type of spending forever. Now, that's just a reality. But the fact that the president and leading Democrats have more or less said that spending isn't an issue, that it's not a problem, along comes Howard Dean to say, well, it might not be a problem to you folks, but to sustain what you're doing, you're going to have to hit up the middle class. Maybe they're waiting to drop that bombshell. What do you think?
It's just denial. It's just wanting to keep this debate focused on taxes. The president has admitted before that we do have a spending problem, and that he also wanted to cut the deficit in half by the end of his first term. Yeah. That he did not do. This is a spending problem, and it's one that, you know, Washington continues to put off and put off. But you've got Medicare going insolvent in 10 years. You have Social Security going insolvent, and right now, all you have is political posturing and theatrics. If the president was so worried about sequester going into effect, then maybe he wouldn't spend time on the golf course this past weekend. Yes, everyone deserves a break,
no,
but the American people deserve a real break, and that's a break in the current pattern of more spending in Washington.
Gretchen, thanks. Meanwhile, brazen